Hey guys, today I'm talking about the number one thing INFJ writers and INFP writers can do to be successful writers. Now, it's not what you think. A lot of writers out there think that it's going to be a piece of software or some sort of system or some sort of writing method they can use that will overnight make them into successful writers. There are no overnight solutions, and what I'm going to talk about is not software and it's not systems. It's an emotional thing. For INFJs and INFPs, what I see so frequently with my clients and my students, where they really get tangled up in the writing process, is because of their own anxiety. And it's because of the fact that they're not wholly aware of how their anxiety is playing into the fact that they're blocking themselves in their writing and that they're tangling themselves up in ways that they don't need to be tangled up in due to their anxiety. So what does that look like? What does that mean? Okay, what it means is I've got an INFJ or an INFP, a very intuitive person, and they've got a great story idea, or they've started to talk to a character. Images are coming through, the visuals are coming through, the story itself is coming through, the storyline, how it unfolds, the character traits. They're starting to get really excited. This could be a great story. I want to put it down on paper. Maybe they've even sketched a few scenes out. Once they get past that first initial, I'm really inspired, this feels so delicious and juicy and bubbly phase, they start thinking. And that's the first sort of sticky point that comes into the process. INFJs and INFPs can really overthink things. So they'll start thinking about their story and they're thinking about their character and they're like, well, what kind of story is it? What genre is it going to be in? What's the ending going to be like? How would this translate to being a screenplay? Should it be a short story instead of a novel? Who's the audience, right? This is what we do anyway. We tend to ask ourselves lots of questions about things. We tend to think things through very thoroughly. But when it comes to the writing process, this is not always a good thing because we are overthinking it. And when we go into these overthinking loops, we very quickly go into anxiety. Our anxiety levels go up, and when an INFJ or an INFP, especially an INFJ though, is anxious, we will try to control. We will try to control the situation, the dynamic, the timeline, how things are going to unfold. So what that looks like is the writer usually sits down and starts trying to hammer everything out with an outline, right? That's like the first go-to. I'm going to put it all in an outline and then I'll know how it ends and I'll know how all the pieces fit together before I write them and everything will be in this neat, tidy little package. And I just have to sit down every morning and look at my outline and write the scenes that are prescribed for me and it's all going to be okay. Except it's not. The outline doesn't really help because the outline is just a form of control. It's a managing mechanism that the writer has brought in because they don't want to lose control. The story can feel that. The characters can feel that. The magic of that juicy creative energy can feel that. They can feel that the structure is clamping down, right? They can feel that the space is getting more narrow. The writer is trying to contract the expansive energy of the creativity because they're uncomfortable with it, right? And that's when creativity scoots out the door because creativity needs an unstable environment in which to thrive. Creativity by its very nature is something that's volatile, it's unpredictable, it does not know what form it's going to take. That is the beauty and the magic of creativity. It's busy being born. It doesn't know what it is yet. And that's where it really thrives. It's like, oh, I'm going to come in and I'm going to dance, but I don't know what steps I'm going to use yet. I'm going to go in the moment. I'm going to go with the feeling and see what feels right to me, and I'm going to move that way. So when you come in with the control mechanisms and you're like, I'm going to outline this thing and I'm going to nail down every scene and I'm going to decide on the ending right now and then right towards that ending, that is like throwing a bucket full of water on the fire. So what can you do? What do we do to deal with this? Well, the solution is not that you become less anxious because you're not going to become less anxious. Every INFJ and INFP I've ever met, and I have met lots of them, lots and lots of them, we're all anxious. We are all anxious as a matter of course. We cannot just not be anxious. So we're not trying to not be anxious. Instead, we are trying to become self-aware of how anxious we are. We are trying to witness our anxiety and get a really good handle on when it shows up and what it looks like when it shows up and what it's telling us to do when it shows up. So we are watching our anxiety, and we are watching it like a hawk, and we are not letting it run the show. We are observing and witnessing it, and then we are making decisions from a thoughtful, intuitive place about our writing and not letting the anxiety call the shots. So what does that look like in real time? That looks like you're thinking about your story. You realize you don't know the ending yet. You realize you're starting to feel anxious. Maybe your heart rate has sped up. Maybe your breathing's a little bit different. Maybe you feel different in your body, right? Maybe you can sense that you're going into an overthinking loop. Your thoughts are kind of racing, or you're just feeling in general bad. You're feeling self-doubt about the story, worries. Anyone gonna like it? I don't know about this whole ending thing. I don't know what to do. You witness yourself taking that dip down into negative emotion. You say, oh, anxiety is here. Anxiety has shown up. It's in the room with me. Okay, good to know. Anxiety is here. I'm not gonna make any decisions when I'm in this state. I'm not going to try to take any action when I'm in this state. I don't need to sit down and nail down the whole outline right now. I don't need to sketch out notes for the ending right now. I don't need to jump on Google and research the 5 best ways to end a novel. I don't need to take any action or make any decisions right now, because if I do, those actions, those decisions, that's going to be fueled by anxiety. I'm going to put it away. And I'm going to go do something and focus my mind elsewhere. Maybe I'm going to do the dishes. Maybe I'm going to go for a run. Maybe I'm going to paint or listen to music. But I'm going to put my mind elsewhere, and I'm going to let the story come back to me whenever it's ready, and I'm just going to have trust and faith that the story is going to unfold how it will. Now, you're going to have to do this a lot during the writing process. I've written a lot of novels. I can tell you the anxiety never really goes away. It does get easier to clock it when it shows up though. So you will get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I'm just anxious. My brain's doing that thing. It does that thing quite a bit. I don't need to pay attention to it. It's not actual alarm bells signaling real danger. It's just me being anxious. I'm going to have faith. I'm going to have trust that the story is going to unfold how it wants to and everything's going to be okay. So this is actually all a matter of practice. It's not an overnight solution. It's not something you learn about and then you start doing it perfectly. It's more something you try again every single day, every single week, every single year that you live as a writer, and you will get better at it. If you have your own stories about anxiety and writing, if you have questions about anxiety and writing, please leave them in the comments below. I love to answer questions, and I love to see what's going on with the INFJ and the INFP writers out there. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys, but I don't know all of you guys. So if you have questions and stories, please share them. I would love to hear them, and I'm sure other people would too. Thanks so much, and I will see you all next time.